May I come in, sir?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Please take a seat.
Thank you, sir.
You're Uma.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Uma, then take this conversation as a light conversation. We are not here to interrogate you, right? And introduce yourself.
Sir, my name is Uma Harati. I'm a native of Nalgonda district in Telangana. I've done my BTech in civil engineering from IIT Hyderabad. I graduated in 2017. My interests include practicing yoga and cooking. This is my third attempt at the civil services examination and my very first interview.
So, Uma, you've done civil engineering from IIT.
Yes, sir.
IIT Hyderabad.
Yes, sir.
IIT Hyderabad is a newer IIT?
Yes, sir. It is a new IIT.
So, when we talk about these newer IITs, the established IITs believe that these IITs are piggy riding the kind of goodwill they created. They worked for decades to create a brand, and now new IITs are mushrooming, and they are piggy riding the very same hard work which these bigger IITs put in. Agree?
No, sir. To me, education in IIT is about quality coursework and great campus experience. If we are able to provide that to a large number of students by creating more IITs, we should go ahead
with the brand equity. Then why don't we call it NITs? We can have as many NITs as possible. Why are we calling these IITs?
IITs on par with the older IITs. So even as we focus on creating newer IITs, we could also try to upgrade the status of some existing universities into IITs so that infrastructure problems would be reduced.
If all engineering colleges are going to become IITs, then no IITs will be left. If every bottle of wine is champagne, then there's no champagne.
Sir, if every college in India becomes an IIT, then it's a very good thing, I believe, sir.
Anyways, you've taken civil engineering, right? And you've also taken geography.
Yes.
Both includes the concept of surveying, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me how a civil engineering survey is different from a cartographic survey.
Sorry, sir, my knowledge in this area is little less at the
You
moment.
did surveying in your great IIT or not?
Yes, sir, I did.
Tell me how long is the chain?
How long is it?
Chain. You did the chaining, right?
Yes, sir, I have.
Yes.
But sorry, sir, I'm unable to recollect the length.
You have seen the chain or not?
Yes, sir, I have.
And you didn't notice how long it is?
I must have noticed back then.
How
sir,
apart are their rings?
No, sir, I
You cannot discuss surveying here?
No, sir, I cannot.
Good. So I believe, can I go back to that question that IITs are diluting the brand IIT? New IITs? Or
Yes,
it's just you, the victim, not the IIT?
if I have to say, it would just be me because it's been a while since I graduated and I think I have to go up and brush up on my
No
concepts.
problem. You're coming from Telangana and you mentioned also, I saw an interesting thing that you mentioned that you like cooking. Whenever women candidates say I like cooking, it's like a prisoner saying that I like being shackled. Why didn't you think of something new? Every woman is cooking. Get off.
Yes, sir, I agree that for most women in India, cooking is a responsibility that they cannot escape from. But in my case, it's been an area of pure interest.
How pure was this interest? Tell me, why you were saying that you are different from all 50% population of this country?
Yes, sir. Sir, growing up, I always loved food, and as my mother would say, I loved it a little too much. So this is what got me curious towards cooking, and I started cooking at a very young age. And my parents encouraged me because I was interested in it, not from the point of view that I should be learning cooking per se.
You've also mentioned that you are into different Indian cuisines. If you go by the frying oil, say in north and in south, how is it different, and what is the chemistry and the cookery behind South Indian cuisine being different from the North Indian in terms of cooking oil?
Sir, if we look at the cooking oils in South India, we primarily use peanut oil and coconut oil in the extreme south. When in the northern India, I have noticed a usage of mustard oil. And that aside, I think these days usage of refined oil is prevalent across the country.
But you're just giving the facts. What is the cooking science behind it? How will it affect the food of North India, making it different from the South Indian food?
Sir, in terms of the oil, sir?
Yes. Is it the same, frying in the coconut oil and frying in the mustard oil, or there is a difference?
Sir, there would be a difference in taste, but frying in refined oil would be different from frying in unrefined oil. Generally, deep frying in unrefined oils is not suggested because the unrefined oil disintegrates at such high temperatures, and cooking in deep frying in refined oils is considered not so unhealthy.
Anyways, thank you. So, you're a student of geography, right? And your area of interest is totally related to geography. That is what exploration, why and how of Indian cooking, right? And the cooking in that. Starting with what sarva pindi, right? The very famous Telangana dish. Every day almost we enjoy. It's also called Guinea appa.
Thank you for letting me know, sir.
So my question is, what when you the constituent material, most important material of Guinea appa or sarva pindi is what? Rice powder. You are a student of geography. We have two types of rice. One is called dry rice and second is called wet rice. Out of this, which rice is being used to prepare sarva pindi?
Okay, sir.
Our breakfast, what actually dish almost every day. Yes.
Sir, could I make an educated guess on this?
Yes, you can easily you can make a guess. I have used what intentionally use what rice powder. I can use rice flour, but I have used what rice powder. Only giving indication. Yes, please.
Yes, sir. I think it is dry variety of rice.
Yes. In any area, there is no question of cultivation of wet rice. That is drought prone area, and only by what look dry rice you can get the best wet powder. But I am not vegetarian, so my introduction must be extended to it. Goli china ana masam, right?
Yes.
Goli china masam. Look, goli china masam we use what mutton. Right, and that is supplied locally by goats. There are a variety of goats in India. What particular variety of goat available in Telangana, Nalgonda district, right, and other districts too, which are used purposely for Goli Chana members?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of the name of the goat variety.
I don't know. The tallest, one of the tallest goat you will see that is in Telangana.
Oh,
Right?
okay, sir.
And it's very hard. And because of this, we take much more time for what actually frying what Goli Chana in Telugu is what?
Frying.
Fry, as you know. Okay, but another very important question. Considering what Sarvapendi and Goli Chana Masam, what is the crop pattern? What is the crop pattern of Telangana, the Telangana state in particular? Look, pendi or what guinea pap is served with pickles, is served with chana dal, right? That is chicken peas. So what are the actually crop pattern in Telangana?
Sir, currently, if we look at the cropping pattern of Telangana, it consists of rice and some.
To give the number, if you are a student of geography, you discuss look crop pattern with crop combination, which is number one. That should not be rice at least. Yes, please.
Yes, sir, it should not be rice, but at the moment, rice has a very significant share in Telangana. Besides, there is also.
Is number one. That should not be rice at least. Yes, please.
Yes, sir, it should not be rice, but at the moment, rice has a very significant share in Telangana. Besides, there is also different types of millets that are grown, which are more.
Millets. You must name the millet.
Sir, we have ragi, we have jowar, we have bajra.
Yes.
We also, yes, sir, we also have.
My next question is: this is because Telangana is what a drought prone area, and that is because of geographically it lies in the rain shadow belt of Western Ghat and Eastern Ghats, right? And to some extent, the continentality is very important. Suppose you are what actually a DM of Nagareddy, actually Nalkonda, right? Mahbub Nagar. Better to consider Mahbub Nagar district. How you use look actually dryland farming technology, which we have imported from Israel, to increase the production productivity with diversification of agriculture in Mahbub Nagar district.
Sir, if we want to improve the agriculture of Mahbub Nagar using the dryland farming techniques, then we would have to start with the choice of crops itself. So currently, again, there is large reliance on rice. It could be replaced or at least diversified with use of millets, which are today having good prices.
Point. So this is what actually crop management. Next point. How you do water management?
Yes, sir. Secondly, the focus should be on micro irrigation techniques, increasing the
micro irrigation latest technology imported from Brazil is what bicycle irrigation. You know bicycle irrigation? Laser guided. Third, how you do soil management?
So because it's a semi-arid region, in order to prevent moisture loss, we could go for mulching and other techniques on the surface of the soil.
How you do what land management? Because the area is not totally plain, that is undulating. Yes, so how you do what land management?
Sorry, sir, I'm unable to answer that.
Leveling. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Uma, can you differentiate between the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan and Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan?
Sir, could I make an educated guess? Sir, the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan would be a republic. In the sense, the head of the state would be directly or indirectly elected by the people.
So the ousted regime was Islamic Republic?
Yes, sir. On the other hand, the new regime, which would not have any such provision for election of the head of the state.
Calls itself the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Now, Taliban is trying to impose Sharia in Afghanistan. So, Taliban is now in power in Afghanistan. So, is there anything per se wrong with Taliban implementing Sharia or saying that women should not work or work under Islamic laws only? So, is there anything wrong? Like, it's their country. They are free to decide how they want to run it.
The rule that they want to establish is undemocratic, as well as they're violating.
Undemocratic by what standards? Whose standards?
Their own standards when we compare it with the earlier regime.
That was very, very bad. Like, it is Taliban 2.0.
Yes, sir.
They are supposed to be more reformed, more benevolent.
Sir, if they turn out to be that, it's a good thing, sir. But so far, we know that they say one thing and do another thing on the ground, and they have clearly said that women can have rights, but within the framework of Sharia law. And we also know that they have a very rigid and extremist interpretation of the law.
Right. And what are India's options if we consider Afghanistan? India has not been dealing with or engaging with Taliban. So India is now no more than a spectator.
So true, the current situation presents a very difficult position for India. But India does have multiple options. One is to continue to back the erstwhile regime, but that may not be the best.
Like a pack of cards.
Yes, sir. So that would not be in our interest. And second is that we could perhaps support the national forces, Afghan national forces, go a step ahead and support them militarily. But again, this would make us a target and make us directly involved in the situation. And thirdly, I think more feasible is to open communication with the Taliban and extract security guarantees, perhaps in return for us recognizing them or future developmental assistance.
Okay. Which are the members of Troika Plus as far as Afghanistan is concerned?
Sir, I believe it's Russia, Pakistan, and United States of America.
Okay, only these three. Then it should be Troika, not Troika Plus. Fine. You come from Telangana, and in Telangana there was a famous encounter, or infamous encounter as how you see it. There was widespread public support for it because the police had killed criminals who were accused of a very heinous crime. So, do you think it is right for the police to maybe take law into their hands and finish off hardened criminals rather than letting them go through the process of justice, which is long delayed at times, and they can also go away scot-free?
Sir, the incident was unfortunate and the public outcry against it was justified. But police action through shootouts is unjustified. First, as you have already mentioned, it is equal to taking law into the hands, which is illegal. And secondly, it does not address the root cause of the problem.
But there was widespread public support.
Yes, sir. So the public support could be interpreted as a cry for quick and certain justice, and that is what we should be working.
That is what democracy is all about, public support.
Sir, but democracy is also about following the rule of law and upholding human rights in every condition.
Right. My final question to you, you have geography as optional and you are also interested in cooking.
Yes, sir.
I don't know like whether vegetarian food or non-vegetarian food, but if somebody is interested in eating fishes, so as a student of geography, where would you go fishing? Which part of the world and why?
Sir, to begin with, I would say the tropical areas, because the tropical areas have a very high diversity of fishes.
Related to ocean currents.
The coast of United States of America, which is the northeastern coast of United States of America.
Thank you, Uma.
Thank you, sir.
So, Uma,
You have done civil engineering.
Yes.
And I could see that you have published a paper on plastic fines on shear strength of sands. Can you enlighten me what does the shear strength means?
So shear strength is the resistance to shear stress. By what do we mean by shear stress? It's the resistance to force acting along the cross section of the plane. Rather than perpendicular, it's along the
I'm a
cross
person who
section.
is not technical. I won't understand anything. I'm a layman. Explain it now.
If we take a paper and if we try to tear it along the cross section, if we tear it, that is the shear failure, sir. Another real life example is a landslide. When we see a landslide happen, it's the shear failure of the soil. It slides and fails along the cross section.
Means any material in this world will have certain amount of shear strength.
Not all materials, sir.
Just name me one material
Water
that
does not
won't
have
have shear stress.
Water does not.
Water does not have. Okay. So have you read the newspaper in relation to your area for last 1 week or two?
In the area of civil engineering, sir.
No, in the relation to your state, Telangana.
Yes, I have read.
Okay, you have read it. So can you tell me there has been outcry on one point that the additional judges number that has been increased by the union government from 24 to 42. Now the Bar Association of Telangana is demanding that the judges should be appointed only from Telangana region. How justified this demand is?
I would not say it is completely justified, but the objective here is to balance multiple interests. One is the representation of the people of Telangana within the judiciary. Second is the employment avenues and the promotional avenues for the judges.
Then how far it was justified to have the Chief Justice of Telangana as Hima Kohli, who belonged from Delhi?
Sir, it is justified, sir. What I meant to say was, it is not completely justified to expect everybody to be from Telangana.
Wouldn't it be affecting the quality of judiciary in Telangana? Don't you think that talent should be brought in rather than putting regional aspirations or people's aspiration or local representation more?
Sir, definitely talent should be given its place, and the objective should be to balance both merit as well as the demand of local people.
Okay. So my last question. So you are being now you are into police services. Okay. As you are holding a position that your father is holding now, ASP, and a woman comes to you. She is victim of domestic violence. You love cooking. And she is victim of domestic violence because she says to her husband that she cannot cook. And even she can cook. Cooking is her hobby, but she does not want to cook. What would be the suggestion that you would give to her as a woman? And secondly, what steps would you take as an officer of police services?
Sir, to begin with, I would put my interest in cooking aside when dealing with the case. I would make sure that it does not impact the situation. And secondly, I would try to have the couple speak and discuss the issue, and I will let them know the legal proceedings that would follow if we were to go to the legal route. So if they decide to resume normalcy, I would let it go. But if the situation continues, I'll take the actions according to the law.
Okay, thank you.
Uma. GST, is it an indirect tax or a direct tax? Indirect tax, ma'am. Okay. There is this controversy, and it is generally said that North Indian states are piggybacking, or South Indian states pay for North Indian states, and South Indian states are being taken for a ride in the new tax sharing formula. What is your opinion on that? Sorry, ma'am, I have not thought about it in that direction. Okay. Do you think GST as a tax in our country has been a successful step? Yes, ma'am, I would consider it as a success because it has replaced the earlier regime, which had problems such as cascading taxes or even the logistical burden, because the logistic had to stop at every state because there was no single unified tax for the entire country. And it also brought the system made the system more technologically savvy, which makes it which makes the tax administration easier. But at the same time, we have also seen some problems with GST, such as a continuance of ITC frauds and inability to raise revenues to pay compensation to the states. So I think we are still in the process of adapting to GST. The purpose of bringing in GST was one nation, one tax. However, GST has not been able to achieve that purpose. So will it be right to say that the purpose of bringing GST has already been defeated? Ma'am, we hoped to adapt to the system of having single tax by beginning with 4 taxes. So I would say we are in the process of getting there, and we have to get there. Are you a person who believes that something is better than nothing, whether it's good enough, perfect or not, but something is better than nothing? Are you that kind of person? Yes, ma'am, I am to some extent, but I believe in slowly learning from our mistakes and correcting and moving ahead. But life is very short and limited. So if everyone starts doing that, how will we achieve what we need to achieve as a civilization, as a country? Ma'am, I agree to that as well, but I think there is joy in learning as well, and learning from our mistakes and going ahead. Okay, I see that you have taught vernacular languages to people. Uma, what do you prefer, online mode of learning or offline mode of learning? Ma'am, I prefer a mix of both, because offline learning has its own utility. So, for instance, talking with the peers, discussing with the teacher, I think that is how quality education happens, and that is how knowledge is generated. But online medium has its own utility. For example, targeted courses to help children who are lagging behind, and to make the classroom more interesting by showing videos. So I think there is scope for both offline as well as online. I know you've been asked enough about cooking, but I'm just very curious to know why and how of chole bhature. Could you please tell me that? Yes, ma'am. When we are making chole in chole bhature, generally I've seen people add a bit of baking soda into the mixture. I always wondered why. It's because it helps break down the chole faster. So it's an efficient way of cooking rather than cooking it for longer and wasting the fuel. And the color of chole, it's dark brown color. It actually comes from using a tea bag in the chole. And this tea bag actually neutralizes the tea bag is acidic, so it neutralizes the baking soda, which is basic in nature. So impressive. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So, Uma,
Sir.
tell me, when we talk about the gender studies, it's a term which is very often mentioned. It is called gaslighting. What is it, and how gaslighting is related to gender equity or gender studies?
Sir, I've heard of the word gaslighting, but I'm unable to recall what exactly it means.
Okay. If you look at other words, for example, EPZ, harassment, or sexual assault, gaslighting we just mentioned. Can you just differentiate these terms?
Yes.
Stalking, we can add this.
Sir, if we begin by stalking, it is making the other person uncomfortable by staring at them. So even though there is no direct physical contact, it still makes the other person uncomfortable mentally as well as physically sometimes. And we also have eve teasing, which generally occurs on the roads and in colleges in the name of ragging. So it is making fun of girls and trying to portray them as subordinate or inferior in nature or the weaker sex, etc. And higher up comes the sexual assault, which is the violating the modesty of the women in a physical manner. So yes, so these are all forms of gender discrimination, I would say, but varying degrees.
So looking at the scenario in general, usually whenever we see at any problem, there is a rural-urban divide. Do you believe that there is a rural-urban divide when it comes to problems of women, especially these kind of problems?
Yes, sir, there is certainly a divide in the rural and urban areas. Then the problems faced by women in the urban areas could be slightly different from the problems faced by women in the rural areas. In urban areas, we have more number of women working in the public spaces, so they could be facing sexual harassment at workplace. In a very organized setting, they could be facing it. On the other hand, in rural areas, it's an informal workforce. They could be facing sexual harassment, but in a very informal settings. So, and coming to the solutions of these problems, urban women have a greater opportunity because the law and order and administration is better in the urban areas compared to the rural areas.
Recently, there was this news, in fact, in today's newspaper itself, that the Supreme Court has directed that the NDA should start accepting the women. Prime Minister also announced that Senate schools will start accepting women. So there will be co-education both at NDA and at the Senate schools. Tell me if it is implemented properly. Tell me why the men folks are really concerned about this NDA entry, so they were okay with the OT entry, Officers Training Academy entry.
Sir, frankly, I was surprised to know that there was an exam where women could not take part in, and immediately the judgment was relieved to me. So I assume it's because of the nature of the work in the defense forces.
But then the nature of the work will be the same even if they come through OTA or the CDS. But why the NDA is so important for men folks to protect? If I can use that word, protect.
Sorry, sir, I'm unaware of it.
Probably means that one day, 30 years down the line, we can have a women chief of the army staff. 30 years, 35 years, not too soon. So do you believe that it's going to be really important to have women at the helm of the affairs when it comes to armed forces, or it was okay being nurses and doctors?
Sir, I think anybody who's qualified should be given a chance to go to the top of any service, including the armed forces. And I think it's even more important that women are represented in the armed forces because it has a very large psychological impact in the society, seeing women in armed forces, because they're generally considered physically inferior to men. And it also signifies the changing nature of the warfare itself. Today, warfare is not a hand-to-hand combat model. It's about strategy. It's about planning well in advance. So for these qualities, any women, men, both are equally capable.
Fine. Fine, moment was nice talking to you. The interview is over. You can go now. Take a seat. Will you be wearing the same dress?
No, sir. I will be wearing a sari.
Sorry, right. So that's better. Tell me, what's your take? Is it going to be a first interview?
Yes, sir.
Are you happy with your performance, or there are areas you can still improve? You still have some 15 days or so.
Yes, sir. I think I should be going over the current affairs again in a bit of depth, like the NDA, for example, and also the judge's question that sir asked me about. I was not aware of it. So,
see, in general, your responses to even these questions were okay, except for when you were discussing this judge's question. My advice will be take a relatively more objective view rather than appearing to be siding with the state on this issue. I mean, you should be in position to look at the top view of the things rather than just being a party to it, right? So there will be a better way of looking at the things. So not that it is a very objective, but it makes sense to appear objective. Yes, Uma. Uma, you are definitely a very good candidate.
Take a seat. Srishti Jayant Deshmukh.
yes, sir.
Tell us something about you.
So my full name is Srishti Jayant Deshmukh, and I come from Bhopal. I'm an enthusiastic and determined girl. I have done my graduation in chemical engineering from Lakshmi Narayan College of Technology, and I recently completed my diploma in women's empowerment and development from the Indira Gandhi National Open University.
Okay. Why it is Srishti? We have heard of Srishti, but this is a very unique name, Srishti.
So in Marathi, the word "ri" is pronounced as "ru," so that is why the pronunciation goes Srishti. So hereby the spelling, sir.
So you are basically an engineer. You have completed your engineering, and thereafter you have developed interest in civil services.
Yes, sir.
What has inspired you to join civil services?
Sir, I believe that it is a job as dynamic as being a civil servant that will utilize all my capacities and capabilities, and it will be a journey to a life of large-mindedness where I will be able to care about other people's lives, their dreams, their passions, apart from my own.
What are the priorities you have thought of, priority areas where you will be really doing a good work once you get selected?
So the first area which I am really eyeing is on education. I believe that India is coming up with a lot of children and youth, so skill training and education is something that we need to focus upon.
What are the problems being faced in education, particularly at the primary and secondary level, in backward states like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar? Have you tried to analyze?
So the problems which I feel prominently is the quality of education. We have ensured that children come to school, but the quality of education that they are gaining, the learning outcomes, they need to be monitored the next. So this needs to be focused.
Suppose you are posted in a district of UP or Bihar, where level of education is extremely poor. Girl child, they are not given incentive to study. Those who study also, they leave midway. So what steps will you take to ensure that, number one, they get quality education, and number two, they continue their studies and finish their school?
So the first point, I'd make sure that the teachers are attending the school properly. Teachers' attendance has been deterring the students from coming to school, and teacher training as well is equally important. Secondly, sir, the schemes like midday meal scheme have to be properly implemented so that students, like especially the young ones, can be attracted to come to school and they can come there.
Why teachers don't teach? Why there is such a poor quality of teachers?
So I believe there's a lack of training of the teachers. They have done their basic qualifications, but they are not adequately trained to ensure how learning outcomes have to be ensured. So we need to work on that front.
Okay. When you had to join civil services, why did you do your engineering course?
So I had.
It's a waste on your talent and waste on the. You have, in fact, taken a seat from somebody who could have pursued his engineering degree or her engineering degree.
So the degree of chemical engineering has provided me with a lot of knowledge and experience with regard to the field. Currently, the issues of environment and industrial safety are prime time in India as well. So I think this knowledge will help me in the civil services as well.
You have a passion for civil services from whatever little I've heard from you. But there is a perception that civil services is per se very corrupt. And it is divided on so many criteria, on caste lines, on some other considerations, and they have their own political affiliations also. It has not remained a steel frame which it used to be. So what is your take on this?
So in a country as large as India and in the bureaucratic system that we have developed for ourselves, there are bound to be challenges. Some, as you mentioned, of corruptness and otherwise irregularities or division on the basis of caste or otherwise. But I believe, sir, this should not deter the young aspirants who are believing to go into the system and try and be as close to being the good civil servant and practicing values.
You are very young. Don't you think that you are still too young to join civil services? You should gain some experience, try to know the country in a better way before joining the civil services and acquire more knowledge, so to say.
So the very fact that UPSC allows us to sit for the examination at 21 years, I believe, is good enough a reason to try and sit for the exam. And I have worked on my front, studied what all I can to excel in this.
Okay, thank you.
So Steve, what do you know about the C.D. Deshmukh?
So C.D. Deshmukh was one of the first civil servants in the country, and he's also been the governor of the Reserve Bank of India. So this much.
And what about Nanaji Deshmukh?
So Nanaji Deshmukh was a very prominent social activist, even a politician. He was active in the field of politics as well. And his works have been in the states of Uttar Pradesh, where he has worked for policing the different people and trying to bring the backward forward.
Who are the three personalities who have been awarded Bharat Ratna this year?
So this year, the recipients are the first Nanaji Deshmukh, then Shri Bhupen Hazarika, and Sir Shri Pranab Mukherjee.
Okay, no problem, Sisti. Sisti, you have just said that you have done diploma in women empowerment. Okay, can you recollect some important judgments which have really empowered women in India?
So I will start with a very recent one in the Supreme Court, which allowed the entry to the Sabarimala temple. I believe it was a good step in the right direction, where the Supreme Court allowed the women to let their right to equal worship.
Any other judgment?
So the Vishaka guidelines with respect to the harassment at the workplace.
That's very good. I'm talking about the latest judgments. There are almost more than 10 latest judgments from Supreme Court and High Court.
So I'm unable to.
No problem. You were born in March. Okay. So why the month of March is important for women empowerment?
So I'll have to read on that, sir.
Okay. You don't remember the importance of 8th of March?
I'm unable to.
No problem. You have done sociology. Okay. What do you know about social mobility?
So social mobility entails that in a given structure of the society, every society has a structure and a level of hierarchy. In any form, whether it is social or economic, when a person or a group is able to move from a higher to a lower or lower to a higher group, that could be termed as social mobility.
Okay. So do you think that reservation policy also leads to social mobility?
Yes, sir, it does. Reservation policy in terms of economic sense and also to the long term in the social sense, it can lead to social mobility.
Can you give me the example of some communities and also tribes who have achieved this mobility through reservation?
So the Meena caste, which is there, a tribe which have now gained a social mobility to an extent.
That's the tribe. Okay.
Yes, that's a tribe.
Any other community? You belong to Madhya Pradesh, okay?
So the Rajgond community has also.
Rajgond, they are from?
The tribes are.
They are from Madhya Pradesh.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other tribes in Madhya Pradesh?
So who have gained social mobility.
What is intergenerational gap?
So this term refers to the kind of intellectual or philosophical or other differences between two generations. They could be in the terms of ideas, in the terms of the traditions that they follow, or in the terms of the life that they experience.
But then what used to be the difference between the two generations if we talk about the timeline? So is it 15 years, 10 years or something like that?
So I'm not aware of the exact number.
You have not studied this.
So I'm aware of the concept, but not of the years which you.
Okay. One more question, and that is regarding contribution of M.N. Srinivas. Tell me something about M.N. Srinivas.
So M.N. Srinivas was a very prominent Indian sociologist. He tried to study the Indian society with Indian concepts. So to say, he tried to evolve certain parameters and certain concepts. The prominent one being Sanskritization.
Okay.
So taking cue from the social mobility that you asked, he says that with the help of Sanskritization, castes gain social mobility. Apart from that, his main contribution has been the popularization of field work in sociology.
Yeah.
He was the one who went to the villages and tried to understand the real picture of Indian villages and then tried to discern the condition of Indian society.
Okay. Last question. Generally, South India and Western India, it has witnessed many caste movements, but not North India. What is your take about this?
So in the South India, there has been a direct clash between two castes, the upper and the lower one. In the North India, sir, there has been a proliferation of middle level castes. That has been a factor because of which a direct clash has not occurred. And I believe politically the middle caste factor has been taken advantage of, and that is why this direct clash went off.
Can you remember any caste movement from North India? Any caste movement?
So Yadavas have been active in politics, but.
Okay. Srishti.
Yes, sir.
Srishti, I'm sure you must be following international things nowadays.
Yes, sir.
If you look at the situation in Sri Lanka, what do you believe is the internal problem in Sri Lanka, especially the problem with the Prime Minister and the President? Do you believe that
There is no reason why you should not be a successful candidate. You will come out with flying colors. That is our assessment of your interview, and do well.
So make sure that you sustain your performance. This is a problem at your age, and you're getting up and you're doing really well. And from now on up to the date of interview, make sure that you're not letting this performance slide down. Yes, sustain it, and sustaining is as difficult as raising your function. Okay, so take care of that. You're not taking so many suggestions. You're not trying to implement every suggestion that you get. You have to be very careful about it. Otherwise, you're doing perfect.
Be your natural self. Don't take too many suggestions from us. Okay, and because your interview has been fantastic, and you are a wonderful candidate for the board. So you will get very good marks at the interview. It all depends on how you have done your written and all that. But you have a bright future ahead.
Is it a right step?
You think or feel in certain ways, but this to or to bully the other person, and a sadist attitude to try to derive pleasure out of the other person's pain. I think, sir, this is the underlying.
You believe it's an individual trait. It has nothing to do with the collective sense.
Yes, sir, I believe it's an individual.
Usually the ragging takes place wherever ragging used to take place, and if it is taking place still, it is usually in groups. It is the group of seniors who actually rank a group of juniors.
So then I'll say that it is an individual trait, but when like-minded people and students come together, they try to behave in this certain manner.
You have taken some qualification in women empowerment,
yes,
and you are a very young aspirant. Suppose you get into the civil services at this very attempt, and you reach the training. And in the academy, you feel that everybody is being very polite to you since you're very young. You're being kid-gloved in the entire training thing, and you're being patronized by not only your teachers, trainers there, but even your colleagues who may be 8 years, 10 years senior to you in age. How will you handle the situation when you're not getting equal footing even in your training or in course of your civil services practice?
So being kid-gloved, as you said, or being treated as such would not be, in my opinion, an appropriate way to handle or behave to a person. So, sir, I'll try to put forward this to whoever people I feel have been behaving with me in that manner, and I'll try to bring forth those capacities and capabilities in me.
But they're being extra nice. How can you say don't be extra nice to me? They're not harassing you. They're not being rude to you. They're just being extra nice.
So
it is obviously affecting your personality development over there.
So that's why I will try to convince them that it is good for my own personal growth that I be treated equally at par with all the other candidates. I'll make sure that I convey that to them.
You're basically a Marathi staying in Madhya Pradesh. Recently, Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister in the very first week said that outsiders should not be claiming the jobs and opportunities in Madhya Pradesh. Obviously, he was not referring to Marathis as such, but Maharashtra is also guilty of similar behavior for the similar people. What is your take on this? Should this our land, our jobs, this protectionism have any place in federalism like us?
I don't think so, sir. Every state has its own cultural traditions and own customs, but this does not mean that we deter other people from coming and participating in the employment or the education sector. I believe in the longer term, the politicians have to, and the government together has to move forward in creating employment and ensuring education facilities to all, so that we cannot transfer the blame of this on some other person who is migrating for his own reasons.
Okay, Ms. Deshmukh. So you have done chemical engineering, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what is plasma?
So plasma is a fourth state of matter.
Okay, and why it is important nowadays?
So one application of plasma that comes to my mind is the water filtration, wherein plasma technique is useful. So I'll read on that.
Okay, no issue. And you are interested in yoga and meditation?
Yes, sir.
Do you know about Vipassana?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me something about that?
So Vipassana is a special technique, so to say, of meditation, wherein they have a routine of 7 to 10 days. It's like a camp or a shiver, which Vipassana organizers do. In that, they make us experience the different reactions that our body produces when we feel in certain ways. So when we think or feel in certain ways, our body reacts to it. This particular interface is targeted in Vipassana, and it is tried to make us understand our bodies and our minds better.
Have you gone to any such camps?
No, sir, not really.
Not yet. Okay, fine. What are your service preferences?
So the Indian Administrative Service, then the Indian Police Services, Indian Revenue Service Income Tax, Indian Revenue Service Customs, and Indian Railway Traffic Service.
Okay, let me put you in a situation. Let's say you are an IPS officer, and in your city, there are two immediate situations which arises. One is that there is a girls' college where some goons are basically planning to do acid attack. It is certain that they will do it because they have done it before also. And at the other part of the city, there is a mob lynching which is being planned. That is also certain. Now you are there, and if you have to, give preference to one such incident where you will place yourself, then what would it be? Where you would like to go?
So both the incidents in hand are really serious. The acid attack is abhorrent and deplorable, to say the least, and mob lynching can have a very deep impact. It can disturb the communal harmony or other such harmony of the social setting. Even if I'm not physically present in one particular area, I'll make sure that adequate steps are taken. Like in the girls' college, I'll make sure that...
Where you would go? You cannot be present at the both situations at the same time. So what will be your preference? You can send your subordinate, but where you will place yourself?
So I'll take turns to visit both the places. Where
you will go first?
So that would be dependent on the operational. So I'll go to the place of mob lynching, because I believe that in the case of acid attack, I can ensure that the subordinates can cordon off the area and take all the girls to a safer place. That is a task which is doable by a force and a subordinate who is responsible. In the area of mob lynching, I believe my personal presence can make a better difference.
What kind of difference it will make?
So first of all, I'll make sure that if the people should not be on the streets or so to say in the run.
That is a technique that you will take. What kind of difference it will make by your presence?
So proper communication and...
Okay, fine. One more thing I have to ask. What is nanomaterials? What are the nanomaterials? Very
So
much.
nanomaterials are the kind of materials in very recently discovered material technology whose thickness is around 10 to the power minus 9 meters.
Is there any application of it which is there in a present life?
Yes.
Any nanomaterial? Can you give example of?
So scientists are working on the applications. There is a nanomaterial in which a very thin layer, like I mentioned, just 10 to the power minus 9, that much thick layer could become a conductor, or with certain modifications it could become an insulator. So this can have a lot of applications in the space technology on the very first one, sir.
Srishti, tell me, like, why is India keen on building libraries in Afghanistan when there are more serious issues?
So at this point in time, India has not committed itself to direct defense intervention. So we are working on the social sector front, where we can empower or support the education sector of Afghanistan, and libraries are a step in that direction. So.
Okay. Are you aware that India has actually built any library in Afghanistan?